All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Crossing the Streams, episode 95. We've got special guests.
95.
We got special guests, Gerald, Glassman, and
What's up,
Mike
Gerald?
White. But first, we have to sing the theme song. Mike, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Gerald.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob and there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Oh, you brought it. Sal.
Yeah.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we crossed the streams.
We crossed the streams.
We crossed the
streams.
That's
the
the
word.
word.
Here we cross the streams.
All right, it's an exciting show. We got Sal has a new microphone, so we're gonna see how that
I got
goes
a new computer, same mic.
Oh, all right. Well, the mic works better now with the full upgraded computer.
I think so.
We got two special guests, both return guests, friends of the show. But we welcome everybody to Crossing the Streams, where we answer the universal question: what should I be watching next? I just watched something. Now I got to watch something else. What should I watch? This is episode 95, which means 94 other hours are streaming right now on our YouTube channel. You can check that out. In an hour, there'll be 95 hours. Ooh,
glorious hours.
Glorious hours. Glorious. All right. Gerald Glassman, welcome back to the show.
What's up, Gerald?
Remind everybody about your podcasts.
Well, the main one that you know, of course, is the Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, every Monday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, and on over 30 radio stations worldwide. So hopefully everybody gets a chance to, just like I said, cover the latest and greatest, TV, film, streaming, movies, video games, anything pop culture we talk about that's fun, you get it covered at the Pop Culture Cosmos.
All right. And of course, friend of the show, I don't know, been back so many times, I don't even remember now, Mike White.
What's up, Mike?
Hello. Glad to be back. Thank you so much.
Great to remind everyone about your fabulous OG podcast.
OG, yeah. I run the Projection Booth podcast, which is available at projectionboothpodcast.com, where every week we talk about a different movie, sometimes a few movies, and just kind of try to do a deep dive. I was recently on a show and they called me the king of the deep dives, and I'm not sure if I like that or not, but it might stick. We'll see. But I'm very glad to be back and excited to talk with you fellas.
King of the Deep Dive, I think, sounds amazing. You have a Ras banker.
I thought that was Jacques Cousteau.
Isn't it Ras?
Right.
What is it? Bass? What is it?
Rankin and Bass. Yes. Rankin on Bass. Yes. Where we talk about all those classic TV shows. Yes. And movies.
He just died.
Yeah. Yeah. I swear I looked him up and I thought he was dead already, or else I would have tried for an interview, because we've been doing the show. My poor co-host who made this offhanded joke, and suddenly I'm commissioning artwork and he's just like, can we stop doing this now, please? I'm like, no, there's more Rankin and Bass we have to talk about. So.
That's too funny. That is too funny. Yeah. that moment you raised, oh my God, he's dead. I could have.
Yes.
Yeah. I always think about that. There's been two people that I've been in progress with who died while I was trying to.
Oh.
I know that feel. There was one person where it was literally the next day, and I was just like, hey, I'm just confirming I'm going to talk with you, and then saw their obituary that afternoning.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was like, the lengths you go to avoid an interview with me.
Don't ask me.
They'll do anything to get out of talking to Mike White. Is there any other? We got what do we have? Black Panther's coming out this weekend, so I think we're all excited.
Also, a limited release, The Fablemans, Steven Spielberg's movie as well.
Oh, is that already out?
In limited release. It'll be, I guess, a wide release, I think sometime in December, something like that. But yeah, limited release in theaters this weekend.
Oh, hey, Lee wants to say hi.
What's
hey,
going on, Lee?
and
Hi, Lee.
Sherry.
What up, Lee?
What's up,
Gary.
guys? What is The Fabermans about? I don't even. That one's kind of flown under the
It's
radar.
it's semi-biographical about his life growing up as far as his love for film, and that's basically what's transposed here is the kid's love for film, where he gets it, where he sees it, his mother's interest, giving him that interest into it, sparking that interest, then I guess the conflicts they're in, I guess, because he comes from a divorce family, which he often introduces into his films, and it shows the decline of the family there, but also as far as his love for filmmaking, from what I'm seeing in the trailers. But it looks like it's something that's Oscar bait, and it's going to be one of the probably the best pictures that they're talking about of the year for coming up here, and also at Oscar time.
Oscar bait, and Tom Hanks didn't try and get in on it.
Yeah, really.
He's coming up next month. A Man Called Otto. So
That
that's
looks
Oh,
horrible.
that's right. Yeah.
I have a problem. I'm in my problem with Tom Hanks phase. If you guys want to pull me out of it, it started with Elvis, and now that preview for what's it called? Where he's the old
Man Called Otto,
Yeah.
and then
Thank you. Man Called Otto.
bad
He's not.
Pinocchio
He's just not an old crotchety guy. He can
No.
try to play an old crotchety guy, who has then his heart becomes
Clint
warmed
Eastwood
and
impersonation.
Yeah,
But
he's
it's not-
no
but it's not-
Bill Murray and St. Vincent or whatever that one was.
well, there's something non-natural about him being that character. He just doesn't come off like that, no matter how hard he wants to. Clearly, it just isn't him. It's what I mean. It's just I wish he wouldn't go and be Geppetto either, but that's more in line with Tom Hanks.
Right.
But I'm like, stop trying to be the bad guy. You're not.
I agree with you on that. His performance in Elvis, I thought, was not that great.
Yeah, his accent was, and the weird thing I think is you learn like that wasn't even what the guy
movie.
talked about.
Yeah.
Isn't how he talked or whatever. Okay, well let's kick off. We got some good stuff today, but let's talk about just a quick recap from last week. We talked about Primal, which honestly, Zach Wiseman went so deep and passionate on that cartoon animation that has no words, but spoke so highly of that. So I still have to check that out. We talked about the Goldbergs. Larry Roberts was here, so of course we deep dive into the 80s, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And then I talked about the nice Ticket to Paradise movie. And then today we've got Andor, Welcome to Wrexham, Queer for Fear, and That's Amor. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're entering the Sal D'Amelio rom-com phase.
6 straight weeks, folks.
Oh
Tune in.
boy.
Yep,
It's like going to a CVS once Halloween comes. Sal
right.
just triggers right over.
That's right. I
into
gotta get
holiday
my
mode.
last-
Hallmark Channel, here he comes.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll kick off with Andor. I'll change the thing just to make sure we can get you out of here on time. So Andor, this is the latest Disney Plus. Gerald, take us away.
We're 10 episodes in as we record this. Just want to let everybody know. I'm just going to say right now, if you get a chance, I understand Star Wars has been very sketchy the past decade plus, seemingly going back to the prequels per se. This is some of the best Star Wars that has been made since the 3 movies. I think the Mandalorian season 2 was a big hit, but this first season of Andor, I think, has been really, really, really strong because it's more character driven. It's not more place or battle driven. It's more character driven. And I think it's been for the benefit. I know if you're aficionado of Star Wars, you know that the lead character, Cassian Andor, ultimately dies in Rogue One. So this is a prequel setting it up, the events for what he would go through in Rogue One. But this also deals with the formation of the I guess the different parts of the rebellion coming together, and also the different parts of the empire gaining hold and gaining strength as far as behind the scenes as well. So those things are intriguing, but it's the compelling characters, not only Diego Luna, but also as well Stellan Skarsgård, who is really, really great with his character that is trying to build a rebellion and tie into all these groups all together and get them to work with each other behind the scenes. He is doing a tremendous job in the series. And then there's a surprise guest appearance for 4 episodes almost. I think, yeah, 3 episodes. I don't want to say do because you said, Mike, you don't want any spoilers, but I don't know if you said you've not read anything up on it, but there is a very familiar face who usually behind the scenes that does a lot of outstanding voice actor work, is one of the premier voice actors that's out there today, also a director as well. He's done some live action work over the years. This is by far and away his best live action work ever. And I can't say again who it is, but if you've seen the episode or seen stories, you know who it is. He has just been tremendous in this. It's Emmy worthy. To me, it's Emmy worthy and has really made this show go in a great direction. Again, it's for a show that doesn't give you those week by week chills and thrills and spills and galactic star fights or anything like that. This has been something much different and actually has been much better for it. And like I said, it's very character driven. And if you're into that, it is well worth your watch.
I'm into that. I like characters.
Again, this was a departure from, let's say, because Star Wars, they always got to put an explosion here, a battle against the Empire there, and all that. This was a departure. This is more of an adult-oriented, focused series, and I think that it's different, and I like it for that fact.
So it's a series more than it's not a movie. It's a series.
Yeah, it's a series. I have a feeling that if all goes well, because it's been very highly acclaimed, that it might want to go ahead for season 2. But right now it's 12 episodes, and again, there's 10 out there so far, and for the most part, a couple filler episodes, but outside of that, it's been really strong stuff.
Yeah, they got a hard stop at Rogue One. I saw a funny meme that says George Lucas hired to direct sequel to Rogue One.
Right.
I like Rogue One is one of my favorite movies outside of the original trilogy,
and that seems to be the consensus. So that's why I think it's really widely been acclaimed, is because they appreciate that character from where he went to with Rogue One. Because it's not from Rise of Skywalker and that trash. Okay, this is okay. I can watch this.
I like the I think they never should have gone backwards. I always have an issue with like prequels in general. I call them home movies.
And I agree with you, but that's all they know right now. They're not building upon it too much. All they're doing is their next series, and I guess the films coming up eventually, whenever they decide to go ahead and make them, they're going to go ahead and get into a future of Star Wars. But right now, everything is based off the past, and that's something that eventually they got to let go.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Rogue One was the one exception because nobody really had any like preconceived notions of that story. It was one line in a scroll that I don't think anyone really thought about. But like when you talk about like the movie Solo with the Kessel Run and all these things and how he met Chewie or how he got his name, or like in the prequels we're like, all the stormtroopers are Boba Fett or Jango Fett, and Anakin made C-3PO. Everything has to tie together. Nothing has to tie together unless you make the mistake of trying to go backwards and tie it all together, right? I mean, so it's, this Andor and Rogue One seem to break from that one model because there is no preconceived notions, and they're not trying to tie anything together except the one event, which is specific and vague enough at the same time to not make you worry like, oh, why did they do that? Oh, really? His name's Solo.
And you really don't even
need
to know a lot of Star Wars to watch it.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's what I've always said. Like they built this great galaxy that they could do lots of these political stories in. Yeah. The Mandalorian was amazing. Season 2 was great, but then they had to bring Skywalker in.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That really ticked me off. It's like, please just give us one thing without tying into the Skywalker storyline. It's like, it makes the universe so small, or the galaxy, I should say, so small when it's just always Luke and Anakin, and then when they have to tie in Rey to being Palpatine, I'm just like, oh, really? Can't you just be somebody's daughter rather than has to tie into Palpatine now?
I gave up on. I've given up on the Star Wars universe. I just, it's just, I don't know where exactly. I think the seventh and eighth movie, and by the ninth, I just was done. I haven't watched Mandalorian or anything. I just couldn't do it anymore.
I
It
can't
just-
say I blame you.
Mandalorian's great. Andor
Yes.
is supposedly really great, and from what I've seen, it's really enjoyable, and it does have a different feel. You don't feel like you're retreading.
Yeah, I think and we did that whole Star Wars themed episode a while back, and I think I might have mentioned it then, but I feel like as opposed to the MCU, which look, the movies and some of the TV since Endgame have been crap, no question, but I haven't totally tuned out. But I have with Star Wars because I think the Star Wars connection was to like was such a benchmark in my youth that I feel like it's gone so far afield of where it was in my youth, and it's just a different thing now that I just lost interest along the line somewhere.
I can't say I blame you. I mean, you're like a lot of
No.
people out there, and these latest three movies, not Rogue One, not counting, notwithstanding the movies as far as The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and of course the Skywalker movie. All three of those movies just really helped to tarnish and just send away a lot of people our age and even younger away from the Star Wars franchise. Sure. And Mandalorian has gained some of that interest back, but this is different from Mandalorian. And I think this goes off a different beat. This is more something that people who are not invested in the Star Wars universe can actually get themselves into, because it doesn't, it's in the sci-fi setting, it's in a Star Wars setting, but because it doesn't really tie too much into the regular Star Wars that you know, or actually have come to not be appreciative of, I think that's one reason why I think it really might work with some people that it normally wouldn't.
Got it.
Gotcha. All right.
Cool. All right.
Shub.
That is Andor. All right. Let's what do you say we lighten things up with
That's
That's
Hello.
Amor.
Hey,
Look
There
at
you
them
go.
too. Look at them too.
They look happy.
That it does. That screams happiness.
All right, listen, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to tell you about the movie because that's what this show is all about, right, Jeff? But I'm going to do it a little differently because we've all heard the stories. The stories are so similar in these movies that I can't just go through it with the story. So I'm going to tell you what the story is. And then along the way, I know there's millions of people watching this show right now, streaming all over the world. But I hope some of these directors, or maybe that what's her name, Candace Berger, Candace, the one
Candace
that started,
Bergen?
the one that started her own. She like went against Hallmark now and is starting her own rom-com movie company.
The one from Full House?
The one from Full House. What's her name?
I know, we know what you're talking about.
Candace
right.
Cameron Bure.
Yeah, whatever her last name. She's got three names.
Yeah.
All right, so
Hubble
she's
Berets.
starting her own Hallmark network, so to speak, and producing her own movie. So if she's watching, take my advice on some of this stuff. Okay?
Clearly she is.
She's watching. There's no doubt about it.
If not, I'll give her a call after.
I follow her on Facebook. So this movie's called That's Amor, and what it is, it stars Riley Dandy. Riley Dandy is a fine young actress. By the way, I've never heard of her, but she does a good job in this for being the rom-com.
She looks good. She looks
Yeah,
good.
very, very good actress. Her acting was great in it, so I give her that. She is a graphic designer. Stop right there. Stop with the graphic designers. Why do all these movies? They're all graphic designers. There's like a million occupations you can choose. Why can't she work at Ford? Put like screws on a freaking car at Ford's. There's Bob Phillips here.
It's always advertising or graphic design.
So
it's marketing, it's something creative.
I know she's a graphic designer, but anyway, the movie does get a little better than the beginning there. She's a graphic designer, and she's at work, and she gets in a fight with kind of like her boss. She's like an intern at her work, and she ends up getting fired. So she comes home from work early. The good-looking boyfriend is there, doesn't know she's coming home early, and is in the bedroom with another gal. And the big breakup happens. She falls down the stairs, leaving, I guess, her apartment or his apartment, maybe. Forgot now whose apartment it was. But she fell down the stairs, hurt her ankle. So she's kind of in the next, like, almost the whole movie, her ankle's hurt. So she's hopping around on crutches. Anyway, she breaks up with this guy, and her mom is kind of there to console her on the breakup and everything, and tells her that she needs to take a cooking class with her. So she takes a cooking class, and in this cooking class is where the characters of this movie come in. So now the cooking class is basically the main the main place of the characters takes place. There's a cooking chef kind of guy, the guy that teaches the class. He kind of reminds me like he's doing an impersonation of Dom DeLuise. I swear to God, that's all the guy's doing is Dom DeLuise, and he kind of looks like him
will
too.
be upset.
Does it go
Yeah,
like
pretty
that
much,
stuff?
Pretty much, seriously, no, seriously. I swear to God, you got to watch a clip of this guy.
Oh
So
boy.
he's doing Dom DeLuise, but he's a Spanish chef. He's from Spain, and there's a gay couple in the class. There's a cute couple that's like just got met and are kissing each other the whole time. And then it's this girl, Sophia is her name, that just broke up with her boyfriend, and her mom was one of the couples. And then of course that Dom DeLuise chef kind of guy has a nephew that just came home from Spain, hardly speaks English, very broken English, and is just in America. And he's like, looks like Antonio Banderas, and he's just a good looking guy. And he's kind of helping out this Dom DeLuise chef guy in the class. And of course, not to bore you, but Sophia and this guy named Mateo kind of hit it off, and she doesn't want anything to do with guys anymore. And but they're obviously both good-looking people, and they show them in the cooking class. There's a lot of food involved. There's a lot of scenes with music and stuff like that because it's a rom-com movie, right? And those scenes are pretty good as far as rom-com movies go. They do a nice job. The director is Ali Ashfar, and there's a ton of Ashfars in this movie, so he must have used his whole family like his It's a very good quality movie done, but he does use a lot of Ashfars because I looked at the credits and there's like Ashfars all over the place. So this Ali Ashfar does a good job. Good job writing it, directing it. Anyway, as you can see, the school, the chef's school is kind of like the place where they meet, and all these characters come out, and you get to develop those characters. Of course, the old boyfriend, the boyfriend that was sleeping, comes back into the picture when she starts to become friends with Mateo and have feelings for him. That guy comes back in the picture, actually comes to one of the cooking class and sits in. While he's sitting in, Mateo's girlfriend from Spain enters, looking like Thelma Hayek, whatever her name. And so now you got all the players in the cooking school, obviously, and it's just good-looking people all over the place. And they're cooking, and everybody gets in fights. Mateo with the girl, Sophia, because his girlfriend comes back to America for a couple of days, but he tells her he's not interested in her. The boyfriend that I told you about that was sleeping earlier, he's trying to win her back and gets her a present. And she opens up the present later with her mom. She doesn't open it up in front of him because he's trying to win her love back. And when she opens up the present, the mother goes, "Oh, that's really nice. It's nice of him to give you a necklace." She goes, "Mom, I hate necklaces. I've never worn a necklace my whole life." So she realizes that he doesn't really know her, kind of thing. And of course, the end, everybody, Sophia and Mateo are probably right for each other. He's going back to Spain. She wants to be a graphic designer, gets accepted to a school in Madrid, which is in Spain. But Mateo leaves for the airport 2 days before she thought he was leaving. So, of course, there's an airport scene. Again, I'm chiming in. Forget the airport scene at the end of these rom-coms. It's been done. I don't know how many times
it works.
They chase the person down. First of all, with COVID now, you can't go to the gate try to catch somebody. They don't even allow you in there. Or maybe they do now. Well, during COVID, you wouldn't have been able to go to the gate. You would have been screwed. But anyway, they always go to the gate they find her. She finds Mateo getting on the plane, professes her love to him, and says, we need to try to work this out. I'm going to Spain to be a graphic designer because he's going back to Spain. And she convinces him to stay for the weekend, the extra 2 days. They go back, and everybody from the school is back at the hotel or wherever they're at. And they have a big party, and they do this thing. I think it's big in Spain where you hop over fire. You write. You have to. I think this is something. You write something down that you want to, that you foresee for your future. Maybe look what you want to do in the next year. You write it down on a piece of paper. They throw it in the fire, and then you got to hop over the fire. So maybe that's a ritual, but they all do that at the end, and it's one big happy family. Mateo and Sophia look like they're falling in love. And that's it. That's it, man. It's a good one. I give it like 3 tomato sauce jars. It's not the best rom-com movie of all time, but you know what? It's not that bad. Not that bad.
I have
Definitely
some good news for you though, Sal. Checking her IMDb, Riley Dandy has coming up in 2022 Christmas Bloody Christmas and A Hollywood Christmas. So last year she did A California Christmas, City Lights, A Kiss on Candy Cane Lane. So
I've had that before.
She's locked into Hallmark Studios.
Oh, wait, Sal, I'll one up you. I don't know if you realize this, but you're addicted to director Sean Paul Piccinino, who did direct A California Christmas and A California Christmas City Lights, both past reviews by Sal D'Amelio on Crossing the Screens. So this is your third in this. I mean, some people cover Spielberg or Scorsese. You cover Piccinino and the Hallmark classics.
Yeah, he's kind of known as the Hallmark Spielberg.
Let me guess. His mother or his wife is a graphic designer.
Yeah. And they almost broke up, but then they reconciled at an airport. After seeing how successful it was for Ross and Rachel. So cool.
If you're looking for something to watch on Netflix, it's not a bad rom-com movie to watch on Netflix.
All right. Well, very good, Sal. You've never failed to bring us the rom-coms.
Wait till next
Glassford
week.
has to leave. We have to get him to his family. Thanks for joining us.
Always, my friend. I appreciate you guys inviting me on, and I'm looking forward to finally getting to the point where I can get that white coat for being on 5. Robe. I'm sorry, as far as for the 5 times. I'm not up to Mike's appearances yet, but I'm hoping I'll be invited sometime soon.
I'm still waiting for the robe.
There you go.
The robes are on back order.
Okay. Fair enough.
Supply chain issues.
We'll have you back soon.
Sounds good. Wishing you guys all the best and happy holidays to every one of you.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, same to you.
See you, Mike. Or Gerald.
No, Mike's staying.
Yeah, I'm sticking around. You can't get rid of me that easy.
Mike's staying because we're now gonna
call him back. I want to make sure he knows I said bye to him. Get him back on.
All right, this one looks really interesting. Queer for Fear: The History of Queer Horror. Mike White.
A Shudder original series. I'm neither queer nor do I really care for horror movies, but I enjoyed this series quite a bit.
Get him some water.
I guess I hit his funny bone there. Oh, okay. No, you're choking. I'm sorry.
You're like, I don't like tomatoes,
right?
But I love ketchup.
Hello.
Yeah. I really used to love those shows on VH1. Like I love the 80s and I love the 70s and that kind of stuff. This is right up there with that, but it also mixes in film theory and kind of looking at some of the behind the scenes as well as the in front of the camera stuff as far as horror movies and looking at themes of queer entertainment and coded messages and just kind of seeing a whole lot of queer celebrities, film scholars talk about movies for me for 4 hours. This is 4 separate episodes that they kind of have themes as they go along. Like there's one about werewolves and aliens. There's one about lesbians. There's one about kind of just talking about James Whale for an hour. I was like a pig in slop watching this. It was so much fun. There's a lot of familiar faces in here. Some folks whose circles I kind of run in sometimes, but the I'm a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. So even on that poster that you're showing there, Jeff, that was Ben de la Creme in this amazing werewolf outfit that I just think that she's super cute in that. And, Peaches Crisis on there, Alaska Thunderfuck, just a whole lot of different folks that I'm familiar with through different means. And it was great to hear them talk about film. So if you enjoy hearing people talking about movies and especially kind of the history of queer cinema and just queerness in cinema, have to really recommend it. I think it could have gone on for probably another 2 hours easy. Like it kind of stopped around. Well, there was some stuff with Ginger Snaps and Basic Instinct, but it really didn't go very far past that. And there were a few films where I was just like, well, why aren't we talking about, this or that or the other thing? There was no Silence of the Lambs or, just there should have probably been more trans coverage in there. But for what it was, I had a great time with it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not a horror fan at all. I know we have the scene snob folks on that are huge horror folks, but I don't get it. But this sounds like a different approach to it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it does. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and they're not just going for like the gross out stuff. They're actually like, oh, well, if you watch this and you see this character here, and kind of looking at trends throughout stuff. I especially love when people look at like 50 sci-fi and you can read it in so many different ways. Is it a Cold War metaphor? Is it talking about xenophobia? And then you start to tie into like, oh, well, I married a monster from outer space, and notice how the male character has no interest in his wife, but then when he gets together with the other male aliens, they're just having a great time all hanging out in the woods. And it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, there's some subtext here.
Sure. Yeah.
I love documentaries. And sometimes I love a good documentary, a good documentary on a topic that I normally wouldn't have been interested in can pull me into the other. Like you start to, oh, I can watch that in a different way now. And so then you go watch that movie and you have this entire different perspective so you can enjoy it a different way. It's always really interesting to me when you can you being Mr. Deep Dive, as you mentioned earlier, kind of but that's what these are, right? They're just treasure troves of information that kind of prepare you to let you watch something differently than you've watched previously. And so which is fascinating. It's always fascinating. That's cool. That's cool.
And
so it's broken down. Where's Shudder?
So Shudder is another streaming service, and they just deal exclusively with horror. And they had a documentary, I want to say it was late last year, called Horror Noir, Noire, where it was talking about basically African American experience through horror films. So this was kind of like that experience, but through queer eyes and done in a episodic way versus like a long form documentary way, or 2-hour documentary. So yeah, they're doing a really good job with putting these together and giving different perspectives on what could be seen as like, male hetero type of domain, but it's like, no, there's been, queer people and different types of folks making movies and these, since they've been around. So it's kind of nice to see that. I mean, James Whale was, as queer as a $3 bill. So to see how he was working with some of the themes and, especially in like Bride of Frankenstein and this whole, these two men are going to get together and create life. And just the one, is it Dr. Pretorius, who's just like so incredibly gay that even if you're not watching the movie thinking that this character could be gay, you're just like, yeah, this guy's gay, 100%. And just what he brings to the party and how that works was just really fascinating stuff. And then they actually have the wherewithal to cut from, different roles that actor might have played in other James Whale films to kind of pull out the themes a little bit more, and even doing some interesting stuff with the more lesbian centric episode where it was looking at Paul Schrader's cat people versus the older cat people and how that was really coded as like a lesbian thing in the older versions. But then when it comes to the Schrader one, just how different themes came up in the late 70s versus the 1940s.
Cool. Different.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, not something I normally would have watched, but I had a friend of mine worked on it behind the scenes, and at first he was just like, "This is going to be a disaster," and then a few months later, he's like, "It actually turned out really well." So I was like, "Since you said that, I'll watch it."
Nice.
Very
So,
cool.
and
Very,
it did end up being very good.
If
That's awesome.
if I asked you this before, Mike, my apologies, but what is your favorite horror movie, you personally, of all time?
I mean, I used to get that asked a lot when I was working at a video store, and I go for more of the creepy stuff than the actual like slashers or creature features or those. I would say like The Thing is up there,
Okay.
but also something like Eraserhead or Repulsion, where it's more that slow burn or just surrealist freak out type of stuff.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you said The Things. I love that movie, man.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Awesome. All right.
Nice.
Yeah, nice job, Mike.
Thanks for bringing that.
Thanks.
All right, let's. We got another one now.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into Welcome to Wrexham. Like-
Yeah, so this is one that I had heard about and I knew it was out there. And I hadn't watched it. I don't know why, but just started watching it and just rolled through the episodes. So Welcome to Wrexham is a documentary series. It's 18 and a half hour episodes, not even half hour, 25-minute episodes. And it stars Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney from Mythic Quest and Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So it is a soccer documentary, but it is way more than that. It's actually less soccer than it is kind of a human interest story. So if you don't know, you don't follow them at all, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, bought Wrexham Football Club, which is a team in Wales in the English 5th division. So the English top flight is teams that you may have heard of: Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, my team. Ron, our other star of this show, and I are big English Premier League fans. The top flight's called the Premier League, and then there's the next flight called the Championship, League One, League Two, and then what's called the National League, which is where Wrexham is right now. So they bought this team, and what's really interesting in watching this is they didn't know each other. Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds had never met. They had only known each other from communicating via social media. Rob McElhenney became a fan of soccer, watching with one of his primary writers for Mythic Quest, who's British and a huge soccer fan. And he would watch it when they were in the writer's room and say, "Why are you so excited?" Rob is a Philadelphia guy, obviously, and a huge Eagles fan, big Philadelphia sports fan. So he started realizing the passion for the sport, and he became passionate. And they talk about in the first episode how he decided he wanted to buy this team, but he couldn't afford it on TV star money. He needed movie star money. And then he goes, more specifically, I needed superhero movie star money. So he reaches out to Ryan Reynolds, and the two of them via Zoom at the time, because it was middle of the pandemic, decide that they're going to buy this team. So Wrexham Football Club, like I said, is in the 5th tier, but Wrexham itself is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, I think, club team in the world. And their stadium, which is called the Racecourse, is the oldest international football stadium in the world, which is amazing. Dates back to the early 1800s. So there's a ton of history, and Wrexham itself is a town in northeast Wales, which has a ton of history. So they kick off with them kind of presenting to the board. Wrexham Football Club years earlier had been screwed over by an owner who was buying the team solely to buy the stadium and tear it down and build real estate development. The team and the fans forced him out, and needing to buy the team, the fans got together and in 24 hours got enough money together to buy the team itself, not the stadium. So they had to convince the trust of the city that they were not in it just for the glitz and glamour, and it wasn't a lark, just something vanity for them to do, and they really weren't, which is cool. It's cool to see them kind of do it. So it gets into the end of 2020. For those of you, especially that have watched Ted Lasso, the couple of seasons, kind of vaguely what the relegation system is in English football, which is every season the top 3 or 4, depending on what tier, teams in the standings will go up to the higher league, and from that higher league, the top 3 or the bottom 3 or 4 teams will go down. So Wrexham is at the lowest point. Below them is semi-professional. The difference in player salary, a Premier League player in the top averages about $4.9 million. That's the average salary, whereas it's about $42,000 for a player in the National League where Wrexham is right now. So it's a big deal. Every step you go up, the team makes more revenue, but so do the players. So it's a huge career deal. It's a huge business deal for the team to go up. And it kicks off with them during the end of the 1920 season, trying to make their way, or 2021 season, trying to make their way, and they just fall short at the end of it. And then it picks up with the off season, them having to get rid of a bunch of players, get new players, get a new manager, decide to make changes to the stadium to improve it, which was a major part of what they committed in their business plan. So there's that. There's bits and pieces of soccer, but it is so much more than a soccer documentary. There's significantly more on screen time for citizens of Wrexham, talking about how much the team means to them, how much it means to the city, how they live and die truly with the success of the team. There's episodes where there's a great episode, I think it's about 6th or 7th in, where it's Ryan Reynolds and Rob doing kind of skits, just basically talking about Wales itself and educating people on Wales, the language. They do almost a cooking show with a woman talking about great Welsh delicacies. They do kind of a talk show where they're interviewing people about Wales itself. So it's a super interesting show. If you're a soccer fan, I think you'll love it, because there are great elements of how them building a soccer team, and kind of like the just like the HBO Hard Knocks, you get the behind the scenes of them trying to build a team. You get to see Rob and Ryan interact, which is really funny. They're two great, sarcastic, great improvisers in the comedies that they've done, and you get that for sure. You get really educated, but then you do get some melodramatic. You follow some of these characters from the town of Wrexham and what they're going through. A guy who's 96 years old and has been going to matches since his father took him when he was 7. They've been through every flight of English football in his lifetime, and now 14 years down at the bottom of football, and just like, when are we going to get back up a level? And then, other people, a guy going through a divorce and just trying to be happy through Wrexham's, attempt to get promoted, and the cheering for the team as being a major connection with his kids as the family's going through this divorce. So it's a really, really, it's an exceptional series. It is, like I said, it's their 28 minute episodes, so you can plow through 6-8 a night, no problem. It's really easy to watch. I mean, really, it's easy to watch. It's on Hulu, but also was on FX as well. What's pretty cool is because of the popularity of Wrexham via social media, especially Ryan Reynolds' social media, they do one time, they talk about a statistic, they go combined. Ryan and Rob have like 45 million followers on Instagram and Twitter. And then they do a bar chart that shows that like 92% of it is Ryan Reynolds and the other girl. It's pretty funny. But yeah, it's really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. Again, I don't know why I didn't pick it up earlier, because it is English football, which I love, and I'm a big fan of both of those guys. And it's taken off. And then what I was going to say was, like, Wrexham has become so popular because of it that Wrexham's competitions and what's called the FA Cup, which is the biggest, it's the tournament in the English leagues that goes on in the middle of the season. And it can be at various levels. You can occasionally get a team like Wrexham in the 5th tier that will take on a team like Manchester United, because once you get to the 4th level is where the bigger tier teams come in. Sometimes you'll get a lower tier team that'll sneak in. And then once you get to that level, what's kind of cool is it's not seeded like it is in, say, the NCAA tournament or, NFL playoffs. Once you get to that, each round is essentially randomly drawn who plays whom and which stadium. So, if Wrexham could somehow make it to the 4th round of the tournament, they could play Manchester United at their little stadium in Northeast Wales, which would be just, amazing for the town. So because of that, ESPN has started doing live broadcasts of Wrexham's big matches on like ESPN2, which is huge for a tier 5 team in English football. So it's great. I highly recommend you pick it up if you like those guys, if you like soccer, if you're just looking for a cool kind of light documentary style show to watch.
Awesome. Awesome.
Nice.
All right. Since we got a few minutes, and I think some of us have seen it, let's talk about Weird, the Al Yankovich story. Have you guys seen this? Who's seen it?
I have not.
I haven't seen it.
All right, Mike White and I have seen it. So awesome. So it is streaming for free on the Roku channel. I think you can get it at rokusomething.com. I mean, they basically want you to see this movie, and it's totally free, and you can find it if you Google it. I think I've even seen Weird Al joke about
yeah,
getting
I'm sure
VPN.
You have a torrent of questions.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And so the documentary talks about his life. It's starring Daniel Radcliffe. That's the first indicator that this is not a normal documentary. Daniel Radcliffe stars as Weird Al Yankovic, a much more handsome man than the real one himself. But so the beauty of this documentary is that it's surreal. Like most documentaries that are, I think, strive for accuracy. This one aimed for maybe 20-25% accurate. And that's the beauty of it. That was what they kind of reveled in and what they really were going for. I think of all the interviews, let me just say, growing up, Weird Al Yankovic was by far one of my favorites. I loved Weird Al. And he would take over MTV. I mean, every time he would come out with a new album, I mean, Weird Al was moments for me. I was Billy Joel, Elton John, classic rock, and Weird Al. And so I've always enjoyed him, right? I've seen him in concert. But the one thing about Weird Al that he's always joked about is he has there's no drama in his backstory at all. Right. He wasn't an alcoholic. He never was rock bottom. He never,
right.
He happened to have very supportive parents. There's been some tragedies in his life, but after the fact that of becoming famous. So he just he was just a normal person with a very successful career who just happened to be really good at what he did. So making fun of that in itself, the documentary recreates a visionary version that led to the Weird Al that we know. And so they just made up all the drama that you would need in most of the these type of stories. His parents were against him. You know, his father has a backstory of also playing an accordion and having his heart broken and dreams crushed, and we didn't want that for his son. You know, it's like
that's what they did do, or that's what
well, that's what they didn't do.
Oh, okay.
I'd say the one
Right.
thing that was true, if you watch the movie, this won't ruin anything, is but the guy coming to the door with the accordion, that part's true.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that wouldn't be the one thing you would think is true, but there's some really Rainn Wilson is brilliant as Dr. Demento.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Demento was a real is a real person, was very instrumental in Weird Al's career and life and mentoring. There's a whole thing with Madonna in this.
Oh, God.
Which wait, who played
was it Evelyn Rachel Wood?
Yes,
Rachel Wood, yeah.
She does a great job. She's got the voice and some of the mannerisms. I thought
she's a great actress.
Oh yeah, she was unrecognizable as Madonna as well.
She was hardcore, everything you'd want from 90s Madonna. They kind of fabricate a hilarious, or 80s Madonna, 80s, 90s, and core Madonna, like what we all think of as. But and they just created a whole backstory for them. I think there was one thread of truth, which is that it was her idea for like a surgeon. And the other thing that was true from the movie is that there is such a thing as a Yankovich bump. That if he does one of your songs, you will see a rise in your own album sales. So I totally recommend this movie 1,000%. My wife, who's not a Weird Al fan, she does not like him, but she's just, not a thing, was rolling during this movie.
Good.
And sometimes more than I was. And it was just like, it really caught her off guard, I think, how much she really, really, really enjoyed the movie. And there's just tons of unnecessary, hilarious cameos of people playing people. And it's just, I can't say enough about it. It's such an enjoyable, like, was it like hour 47, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it moves along very quickly. And, they show their hand very early on that this is all completely made up, but it just gets more and more and more absurd as it goes along. I mean, the whole thing of how he is determined to write original songs. And when he finally writes this amazing original song and some kid named Michael Jackson comes along and parodies that, yeah, I could see why he was so mad about it. And then, I mean, I remember when he got shot. So that was really rough.
There's a whole drug cartel. There's God. Wait,
Yes.
was Running with? Has it really been? Was his resurgence Running with Scissors, and has that been 20 years?
It has been, yeah. That was because the saga begins, I believe.
What was the one? What was his most recent one? No, he had one in 2011. It must have.
Right.
Even that was 10 years ago.
Amish Paradise was a huge resurgent hit for him.
Yeah.
Well, right. But I mean, but not too long ago, it came out with an album. It was all digital, and it was like, it kind of blew up. His videos were huge again. He
did videos for almost every single song on that album. I think there was
Was that Alpocalypse? Was that Alpocalypse?
I think it might be. I mean, I used to, like you, Jeff, I used to collect them. I used to have them on vinyl. I had to special order the very first one because it wasn't being carried at my local record store. And I was like, no, I have to have this. And yeah, I still have the old record. And it's even got in the run out groove that it's got little messages inside of there, like use an accordion, go to jail, always eat your spinach was one of them. So yeah, I used to love Weird Al. So anything that he's involved in, I mean, I don't think that this will be as much of a classic to me as UHF, but I also saw UHF when it was out. So that holds a very special place in my heart. But I'm so glad whenever Al does anything that hits with people, it just makes me so happy. It's never one of those like well, I'm a true fan. I've been with him since the beginning because it's just like, no, I want more people to enjoy Weird Al and that he's getting out there even more. It's just fantastic.
One of my favorite moments in my lifetime with Mr. Dwoskin was you and I watching UHF for the first time on VHS, I think, and the supplies joke. Just a great moment.
Yeah. I say that to myself, I think, all
Or
the time.
badgers. We don't need no stinking badgers.
I would love when he's yelling at the guy with the stupid hat, Kevin McCarthy, take that ridiculous thing off. And he just peels his mustache off instead.
What do you have some favorite? I think my favorite Weird Al songs. I mean, I have a lot. Eat It was, I think, always one of my favorite ones.
Me too.
The Beverly Hills Billy one is great. The Money for Nothing one.
Ryan the Kaiser.
Yeah, Ryan the Kaiser. Amish Paradise is classic.
Oh yeah. I mean, even like his later stuff, like White and Nerdy, I thought was freaking fantastic.
Yeah, Word Crimes is a great version.
It is great. Yeah, and that Party with the CIA,
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus parody. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was just knocking them out. Or what was the instead of Royals, Foil, and it's him as a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. I think that was whatever that was. That was hit the last album, I think.
He's always true to the music. That's one of the key things.
Yeah.
Which, he's very faithful to the actual original music.
It's interesting too. He always would ask. Like I read that Prince turned him down 4 times. There was that infamous Coolio thing that Coolio before he died, I think, set straight that he was happy and realized he had made a mistake, taking issue with it, and that how good it actually was. I think Gump, I heard they didn't like that one. I think that gets to a point too where they're like, oh, Weird Al's doing us, and then if you didn't like this, you just didn't like it.
Right.
I think his hit ratio though is so
good.
high. It's so high.
Yeah,
Smells Like Nirvana.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. I think I Lost on Jeopardy might have been the first one that I remember.
That video was fantastic.
I mean,
that whole 3D album, Weird Al in 3D.
God.
Well, especially because back in those days, I mean, Greg Kinn's Jeopardy was like early MTV, heavy rotation. So that was such a big parody song.
I rewatched the video for Eat It today, and it's just so spot on. Even the actors, like I need to go back and watch them side by side because the guys that play the gang members, like especially the one who like kind of leans back, he's got the big sunglasses, the way they strut and all, he looks so much like the guy that was in the original.
Wow.
And I'm to the point where I'm like, is that the guy?
I think that Eat It. The other thing I was pointing out to my wife, because we were coming home and Weird Al had taken over, I think the 80s station on Sirius or something, and he has an amazing vocal range.
He does,
to be like when he was even doing like a surgeon, even though it's a male voice, he had a very Madonna sounding voice when he sang it. It could get into that. I don't know what the words are, register or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the album I was thinking of is Mandatory Fun. That was in 2014, where he came out and did all these new things, and he kind of blew up again. I can't believe that it's been 7 years. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and his band is amazing that they can sound like so many different things. And, you've got, I can't remember if it's John Bermuda Schwartz or who it is that's doing the guitar solo that was parodying Eddie Van Halen doing the guitar solo in Beat It. And he's hitting, he sounds just as good to me.
Yeah, they're all amazing, and if you see him live, it's an amazing live experience. And supposedly the Carnegie Hall, he did like 170 some tour thing just recently, ended in Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
And that was supposed to be amazing. But he does when you see him live, he does a lot of the songs full, but then he does medleys.
Oh, those medleys that he does are amazing.
Well, plus he has to, because now he has so many songs.
Yeah.
So he hits like a bunch of them. He did it full on the one with American Pie, which is the story of The Phantom Menace.
Oh,
God.
it's so good. So much better than the movie itself.
I've become a big fan of the Dan Band over the years, which is the Dan Band is the band with the random swearing in some of the Todd Phillips movies, Hangover at the Wedding and Old School at the Wedding, Starsky and
Oh.
Hutch. The guy that always, the famous one, their biggest song is Total Eclipse of the Heart, where he's just swearing for no reason. But they're another band that's so good musically. When you see, like, if you watch their live clips on YouTube, they're so good musically. And then they throw in the swearing out of nowhere, and it just adds a nice little parody touch to it. So pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. And interestingly enough, that when Weird Al does these, the original artists get what's called, I guess, a mechanical license, and so that's that's how the royalties are paid to the original composers for the sales of his, because he is using their music.
Sure.
So that's interesting. So all right, well, yeah, I definitely find it's on the Roku channel, streaming for free. I think you can get it on the web, it's anywhere. They want you to see this movie. I don't know the money. I don't know the revenue scheme for
It's
making
only
a free
on Roku
movie
though.
and giving it away for free.
Yeah.
But God bless him. So
It's only on Roku.
yeah, but I think you can go to like Roku.com. It's like streaming from their website.
Gotcha.
They're not
Right.
making it. They are not making it hard to find this movie.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They want you to see it.
Cool.
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
this is their first original film, so they definitely are trying to make a splash with that as well.
Yeah, it was based on that original Funny or Die thing from like 10
Right.
years ago, which was great. Same exact kind of tone or something weird. So, all right. Well, this was a fun show. Mike White,
Hey.
thank you for joining us again.
Real
Thank
quick, I
you.
know before the show, Jeff, you were mentioning White Lotus season 2 is going on now, but also one of the shows that I reviewed and absolutely loved out of nowhere, Sex Lives of College Girls, is season 2 is starting within the next week. That was a superb show, and that's kind of the college version of the other Minnie Kaling show that you and I love, Jeff.
Yep,
Nice.
I'm not allowed
never
to watch.
have-
I'm not allowed to watch the
It's
college.
not. There's no porn in it.
The name of it's not about that. Having girls in college, it's off to.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, you're
yeah.
All right, yeah. It could be like a bad documentary for it.
We'll watch it like it's some other time, perhaps. Mike White, remind everyone where they can find you.
You can come on over to projectionboothpodcast.com and you can find all my stuff there.
Awesome. Sal, say goodnight.
Good night, everybody. SalDemilio.com, The Sal and Bob Show, Traverse City Comedy Club, November 18th and 19th. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Howie, say
I'll
goodnight.
just be here on my couch. Good night, everyone.
Jeff DeWasgen. Check out Classic Conversations. Fun interview with Rita
See you guys.
Rudner up right now. Check that out. All right, we'll see you next time.
See you
All
next
right,
time,
thanks
guys.
everyone. And
See
that
ya.
has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcast, Classic Conversations and the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.